Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your video review of Quantum Theory by Tecmo. There comes a time every now and then when I look at my fellow gamers and I say, what version of that game did they play? To be fair, it happens more often with games being overrated to hell and back that aren't nearly as good as the hype. Sometimes it happens in the opposite way as well. I'm not just talking about gamers in the sense of your everyday player either. I'm including the magazines and the websites and the other video reviewers who have made this same assessment. Granted, I could be the one who's losing a grip on my sanity here, and everyone else could be in the right. But people need to look at other games that have received these atrocious scores and rate these things comparatively. What I'm talking about is Quantum Theory, and hopefully this review will give my previous words a little more credibility. Throughout the world, living towers begin taking shape and sending out their forces to demolish any opposition that might stand in their way. Smoky-looking tendrils called diablosis, which infects and corrupts any organic creatures that it touches, slither across the sky in the cities. The towers, made up of an unsightly black mass called erosion, threatens life as humanity knows it. The only way to bring down one of these towers is from the inside. Your character, Sid, a juiced-up meta-hero, knows this from experience. The juiced-up resistance fighters you meet up with don't, but by your side they'll quickly learn. There isn't anything groundbreaking here. The structure is a little messy, moving from flashbacks to present day and back to flashbacks and so forth. Sid helps to convey what's going on around him by the way he's characterized, but you don't even have to worry about that until a couple hours into the game. I hate consciously comparing a game to another on the level that they're essentially the same type, but I think this is the reason that Quantum Theory has been catching so much hate. The game is essentially a poor man's Gears of War. You can tell that Sid even has a wannabe Marcus Phoenix complex. Still, there's a huge difference between poor man and broke man. Nearly 75% of this game can be acknowledged as being stolen directly from Gears, and implemented poorly in comparison. You've got similar cover mechanics, the post-apocalyptic setting is similar, you even have the roadie run. Unfortunately, the gunplay is obstructive thanks to a gaudy aiming reticule, which changes from one gun model to another, but always remains somewhat annoying. You can't clearly see your enemies at times, which isn't necessarily a problem as the game gives you plenty of time to make your moves. Not everything that Quantum Theory does is bad though. While the idea of an eroding, ever-changing battlefield is not a new one, the game performs the task at least somewhat competently. 1 second your cover could be there in front of you and then in the next, it's completely non-existent. The same goes for the protection of your enemies as well. You can clear out some walls to get you that kill shot you need. Yes, there is more bad than good comparatively. You can tell that hardly any thought was put into the melee process, as you flail around like a bit of an idiot whenever you swing your gun around. You're better off blind firing from the hip if any enemies come close. The art direction of Quantum Theory is a bit questionable. You can tell that Marcus Phoenix was in the mind of whoever thought up Sid and the rest of the human characters that show up throughout the narrative. Beyond that though, I can't complain. This isn't the best looking game of 2010, but it isn't the worst either. Yes, we're all spoiled with tons of other better games out there, and even I have made my gripes, but this game doesn't look bad, just average. I can't say the same for the voice work. You can tell that an attempt might have been made initially. Maybe the development team said, hey, we'll come back and fix this later. Some of this dialogue is pretty terrible, and Sid's voice actor couldn't really do anything to help things along. It's probably the worst part of the game. The music and the sound are in right around the middle of the other two parts of the presentation. There's nothing that you're going to remember fondly, but you won't wake up in the middle of the night wanting to cut yourself either. Thankfully, if you have a problem with this game, you're not missing out too much when it comes to reasons to come back. There are a couple different difficulties, and even an online component to it, that I was unable to play since nobody else was on, that might convince you otherwise, but besides the eyes of the watcher, a bare-bones collectible that gives you a tiny bit more backstory, you're done once you've zipped through the meager story. Which, by the way, ends abruptly and makes you think that maybe even the developer worried that no one was going to like this game. To give this game scores of 3s and 4s is utterly ridiculous. I'm probably more benevolent in my reviews than many other publications and gaming sites, but this game is plagued by nothing less than mediocrity. This is C-grade fare, and while it isn't for everyone and it's also not worth the initial $60, it might be worth picking up later once the price drops to a more wallet-friendly amount. That's Entertainment gives Quantum Theory a score of 6.5 out of 10.